All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power, and this is going to be the first video from Vegas of the men's open bodybuilding portion of the show. So prejudging just wrapped up this Friday night. We have the first call out here of men's open bodybuilding. So in the first call out, you had Steve Kuklo, Hadi Chupin, Rolly Winkler, William Bonac, Brandon Curry, and Dexter Jackson. Now, the one thing that you're going to notice in this first call out is they pretty much keep Dexter and Steve on either end of the call out pretty much during the entire duration of the call out, which basically says to me that those two are battling it out for 5th and 6th. And the guys on the inner ring are really the guys that we're really looking at, and that's going to be more evident when you see the last call out, which is basically your top 4. So the last call out was Hadi Chupin, Brandon Curry, William Bonac, and Rolly Winkler. So first, let's talk about 5th and 6th. So I think Dexter Jackson, when I was standing at my booth earlier, I was asking a lot of people what their predictions were for the Olympia and who they had winning. Now, most people said Brandon or Rolly, but there were a couple of people that said it would be cool to see Dexter win because of the fact that Dexter won in 2008, and it would be 11 years since Dexter's last victory. So there's never been a Mr. Olympia that has won 2 Olympia titles in over a decade apart. So that would have been cool to see, and a lot of people were kind of hinting at that when they were coming by my booth at the Olympia, that they would want to see Dexter win just off that principle alone. That would have been over a decade in between wins. But Dexter Jackson looks like here he might be 5th or 6th. Now, Steve Kuklo, surprisingly, is probably the surprise of the night, was Steve cracking the top 6, primarily, I think, because of his conditioning. I mean, Steve was rock hard here. He was super vascular. His conditioning was probably even better than it was when he was top 6 at the Arnold Classic, which is really probably why he's in the top 6 here. And again, we knew the Olympia was going to be wide open this year. Nathan Diasha wasn't there. Big Ramy wasn't there. I said in my prediction video that Luke Sando might be top 6. I think the problem with Luke, he looked a little bit blocky here in the midsection. His conditioning didn't look as good as it looked at the Arnold Classic. I think he looked a little better than he looked in Tampa. But his midsection to me, looked a little bit blocky. So we didn't see Luke in the first call out, but he was in the second call out. So I'm actually going to say I think we're going to end up having Steve in 5th and Dexter in 6th. Now, keep in mind, Dexter was in 7th last year, so that's still a move up, but it's still a far cry from the people predicting that Dexter would win. Now, let's get to the top 4 here. So we did have a top 4 call-out. This was the final call-out of the night. So essentially, these are going to be the top guys: Hadi Chupin, Brandon Curry, Rolly Winkler, and William Bonac. I think William Bonac actually looked really good here despite the fact that he wasn't working with Neil Yoda Hill going into this show. I think his conditioning was very good. I think he was still giving Brandon a run for his money. But I think Hadi Chupin is really the standout competitor of the night. We were all talking about Hadi going into this Olympia, whether or not he's going to be able to get his visa. Then when he did get his visa, we were all talking about whether or not Hadi was going to compete in Open or 212. He made the decision to compete in Open, and I think it was a very, very good decision to do that. Because I think he's going to be top 3 here. Not only top 3, I think Hadi Chupin could be 2nd here based on the conditioning that we're seeing from Hadi. Brandon looked good here. Brandon is my pick to win. I think he's still my pick to win. I'm going to stick with Brandon because he's my boy. But Brandon wasn't as sharp as I would have liked to see Brandon. Now, I think Brandon looks a little bit cleaner and has smoother lines and just a more aesthetic physique than Hadi has. But Hadi had a deeper, crisper level of conditioning, especially in the front poses. When you look at like the crunched abdominal poses, you can really see how conditioned Hadi is when he hits that crunched abdominal, abs and thighs, and he kind of does a front relaxed where he crunches down on his abs where he looks really impressive. You can really see how good Hadi's conditioning is from the front. I think in poses like that and with conditioning like that, that could be an area where Hadi could get the better of a guy like Brandon Curry, even though Brandon is much more aesthetic and to me, much more pleasing to look at. Hadi doesn't really have the prettiest physique, but he is super ripped. He's super shredded, and he did bring a very impressive package to this year's Olympia. And I don't think it was a mistake for him to compete in the men's open class. All right, so let's talk about Rolly Winkler here. So Rolly Winkler was a lot of people's picks to win the 2019 Mr. Olympia. He was the people's champ last year at the Olympia, and he did take 3rd at the 2018 Mr. Olympia. Now this year, when they did that top 4 call-out, they kind of had Rolly off to the side. He was always on the end. They didn't move him to the middle. And it seemed to me like they were comparing more Bonac, Hadi, and Brandon and not so much Rolly. So to me, I feel like Rolly was a little bit off here. I don't think this is the same Rolly Winkler that we saw win the Arnold Classic Australia back in 2018. I don't think this is the same Rolly Winkler that we saw take top 3 at the 2018 Mr. Olympia. I think this is a closer version to the 2019 Arnold Classic Columbus, Ohio version of Rolly Winkler. Just based on what I'm seeing, the main thing that stood out to me when watching Rolly pose was the back shots. His back shots just really didn't look as impressive compared to some of the other guys, which has always been Rolly's problem, a lack of density and depth in the back. Not so much the lat spread, but more so the back double bicep, especially compared to a guy like Brandon, who has a phenomenal back, which is what we talked about in my prediction video. If it came down to Rolly versus Bonac, or Rolly versus Brandon, rather, it would be the back shots that really decided that victory. I think you can really see when Brandon starts hitting his back shots that he is the far superior bodybuilder in terms of completeness from the back compared to Rolly Winkler. So I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm still going to say that Brandon's going to win. I'm going to go ahead and put Bonac in second. I'm going to put Hottie in third. I'm going to put Rolly Winkler in fourth and Steve Kuklo in fifth. I think Dexter is going to stay in sixth place. So I think Hottie's going to do very, very well here. Placing top 3 is going to earn him a 6-figure paycheck from the 2019 Mr. Olympia if he does crack that top 3. And keep in mind, last year's prize money for the winner of the 212 Mr. Olympia was $45,000. I think they're going to do a little bit higher than that at this year's 212. Probably would have been like 50 grand. So no matter what, if he's in the top 3, even if he doesn't win in Men's Open, he would still be doing more than double what the prize money was for the 212 Olympia last year. So I would say that's not too shabby, because I think his chances of winning the 212 Olympia were good, but it still wasn't a shoo-in that he would win the 212 Mr. Olympia, so it wasn't a guarantee. And had he placed anywhere other than first in 212, the prize money would have been like in the tens of thousands. So I think placing third in the Men's Open Olympia was certainly a good call for Hottie Japan, if that's what he places. Even if he places fourth, I think that's still $75,000 or something like that. So I think Hottie is going to do very, very well at the Saturday night show at the Olympia. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. We've still got one more day of the Olympia Expo on Saturday, which is tomorrow. So if you guys want to stop by my booth, it's booth 884. Follow me on Instagram. If you haven't followed me on Instagram already, we're going to be posting updates from the Expo and from the show tomorrow. I'm going to try to live stream whatever I can. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe now for more Olympian news and updates just like this video. And as always, Nick Strength and Power, signing out.